From South Carolina Public Radio, this is the South Carolina Lede. I'm your host, Gavin Jackson, and this episode was recorded on December 8th, 2025 from South Carolina Public Radio Studios here in Columbia. And we have a programming note or two for you. The Lede is live in the Charleston area this Thursday, December 11th. Yes, live December 11th at Hobcob Brewing in Mount Pleasant from 6 to 8 p.m. That's where you can see us. Some say it couldn't be done. Well, we're doing it, folks. And we even might have Santa Claus come from the North Pole. By Santa Claus, I mean we might put a Santa hat on AT. Maybe. We'll see. You're going to have to come. Help me pin him down and put it on his head. He's not the jolliest. Help bring some joy into AT's holiday season. Come see us at Hobcob Brewing in Mount Pleasant from 6 to 8 p.m. on December 11th. We're going to have the Post and Courier's Caitlin Bird with us. It's free, but we encourage you to RSVP at southcarolinapublicradio.org. And if you cannot make this live taping, well, we will have another one January 8th in our Columbia studios here with special guest House Speaker Merle Smith and SC Public Radio's Mayan Schechter. We got more details to come, including RSVPs online, but I want you to put that on your calendar now because January will be here before you know it, and so will the legislative session. So we'll see you January 8th here at our public radio studios in Columbia with House Speaker Merle Smith in the new year. On this episode of The Lede, we continue our look at infrastructure with a report on what SCDOT needs to do to keep up with the state's record-breaking growth. We hear from Congressman Jim Clyburn on redistricting efforts happening in other states around the country, and Victoria Hansen has a deep dive look on the state of South Carolina's shrimping industry, and we hear about the state's continuing need for more energy. Shrimp energy is so expensive. The Lede loves hearing from everyone. That's why we have a voicemail box set up at 803-563-7169. Give us a shout. Let us know how your Honda days are going, what you're thankful for during this season to remember, whether you're signing then driving then signing, what you're putting a giant bow on this year. 803-563-7169. We would love to hear from you in the wind down section. Let's look at what's on tap this week at the State House. The SC Education Oversight Committee met on Monday. The Public Utilities Review Committee meets Tuesday, along with a House Ethics Committee meeting. A Suicide Prevention Coalition meeting is Wednesday, along with a House Insurance Rate Review Ad Hoc Committee. And a Senate Medical Affairs Subcommittee meets Thursday. Also that day is a House Economic Development and Utility Modernization Ad Hoc Committee meeting. A lot of fun things happening in the off-season. We're about a month away from the start of the legislative session, so get ready! Up in Congress, the House and Senate are in, with the latter looking at what to do with expiring ACA subsidies. The Affordable Care Act has a 57% approval rating, by the way. This is according to Gallup. Yeah. And the House is set to move on the National Defense Authorization Act this week as well. So a lot of things moving, trickling up there in D.C. Looking at the economic calendar, the Federal Open Market Committee holds its final meeting this year and will vote on whether or not to lower interest rates. TBD from Chair Powell. 5th District Congressman Jim Clyburn, South Carolina's only Democrat in Congress, was on Meet the Press this past Sunday, where moderator Kristen Welker asked him about the U.S. Supreme Court upholding Texas's newly redistricted congressional map and where such machinations may lead our democracy.
The fact of the matter is, we are seeing today, and this is so much of what the first 8 is all about, a repeat of a history that led to some catastrophic consequences in our previous history. My book is all about what happened after the Civil War, what happened when Reconstruction came to an end that led to Jim Crow, and is all about the Supreme Court at that time, starting with the slaughterhouse cases, all the way up to Plessy versus Ferguson, made a mockery, of democracy. And that is what we are approaching today. Are we going to continue our pursuit of a more perfect union, or are we going to make a mockery out of this democracy?
Well, and in your book, The First 8, I have it here with me. I want to talk a little bit more about what you write. You write that your rise in politics was made possible thanks to 3 landmark laws. Here's your quote. You say, the hard-won successes of the movements I have served in, the passage of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, the 1965 Voting Rights Act, and the 1968 Fair Housing Act provided the faith and promise that I could one day serve in public office. You are currently the only Democrat representing South Carolina. Your district was created as a result of the Voting Rights Act. Congressman, let me ask you, if the Supreme Court rules to further weaken the Voting Rights Act, would that effectively wipe out Democratic representation in your state for the foreseeable future?
Absolutely. When I used to teach history down in Charleston, South Carolina, I used to say to my students all the time, anything that's happened before can happen again. And this is exactly what happened before. This first 8 is about the first 8 African Americans that served in Congress from South Carolina. I'm the 9th. The problem is there are 95 years between number 8 and number 9. And I believe that what we are approaching with the Supreme Court could very well result in the next century being one that will repeat that which took place in the previous century in 1877.
Well, those are pretty stark words. And let me kind of push this conversation forward a little bit and have you respond to some of the rhetoric, at least, that we are hearing. This week, President Trump referred to people in the Somalian community as, quote unquote, garbage, even singling out Congressman Ilhan Omar. This, of course, a part of his broader crackdown on illegal immigration. But what do you make of the rhetoric that we heard this week from President Trump?
It is incredible. And of course, once again, it is not new. The number 7th guy on this list of 8, Thomas Miller, was referred to as a canary. Number 8 on that list, George Washington Murray, was nicknamed the Black Crow. This kind of nicknaming that took place after the Civil War, trying to discredit people of color, is exactly what we're seeing now. When people see all these nicknames denigrating people, devaluing their existence, that is not the kind of stuff of which our country has been made. We got over that after the 1954 Supreme Court decision. Why should we start back in that direction? And so when you look at the Somalians out in Minnesota, Ilhan Omar, she is one incredible young lady who has withstood a lot in her life. And I have defended her and her Somalian brethren. And I do believe that's what this country is all about. It is what made us a great country. And what we've got to do is continue that trek toward a more perfect union. We'll never be perfect, but we should always be in pursuit of perfection. And we don't do that by turning back the clock and having a future for our children and grandchildren, much like the past was for my parents and grandparents. That's not the American way.
Don't worry, we have a sit-down with Congressman Clyburn in January for his new book. We'll be bringing that to you when we get it in January. Last week, the House Ad Hoc Committee tasked with developing legislation to modernize the South Carolina Department of Transportation held several meetings on the agency, including its structure, challenges, funding issues, future plans, and more. The agency itself announced a 30% cut in regulations as Secretary Justin Powell looks to streamline as much of the regulatory process as he looks to make the place as efficient as possible as it struggles to keep up with the demands of our growing state. We brought you my full Twisk interview with Secretary Powell last week, and now I want to bring you this condensed report by SC Public Radio's Maayan Schechter looking at the agency's future.
South Carolina is growing, so much so that the state's Revenue and Fiscal Affairs Office projects the population will grow 29% over 20 years, from 5.1 million people back in 2020 to 6.6 million residents in 2040.
That's a pretty sizable increase.
Frank Rainwater is executive director of the RFA. That growth, he says, has impacted nearly every sector in the Palmetto State, from industry to utilities and home building. It has especially put pressure on the state's infrastructure. 53% of roads in the state are maintained by the state of South Carolina.
We have more resources, you have more taxpayers, but is the revenue source keeping up with the demand caused by this growth?
The answer is no, officials say. State Transportation Secretary Justin Powell recently told members of a state House of Representatives committee focused on infrastructure policy and spending that
if there's a desire for us to do more, to build more, to maintain more, ultimately we'll take more funding.
After months of public listening sessions throughout the state, that committee is now tasked with drafting legislation to help modernize the state DOT, fast forward projects, permitting and resources, and address congestion, among the top complaints for residents in the state's heavy traffic areas. State Representative Shannon Erickson, a Beaufort Republican and co-chair of the committee, says between the governor, the House, and the Senate, everyone is ready to see changes.
What the something is, that's the sausage making, right?
Erickson told reporters everything is on the table. That includes raising fees on electric cars, among the lowest in the Southeast, looking at toll roads, adding preferred choice lanes on the interstates to help ease traffic congestion, and cutting regulations, a process Powell has already started. Last week, the department proposed cutting 30% of what it called outdated and redundant regulations. What changes will highly likely not include, Erickson says, is an increase to the state's 28-cent per gallon gas tax, what is the lowest rate in the region, last increased by the legislature in 2017. Without that money, Powell says many road projects would not be where they are today. Two main pots of money mainly feed the department's infrastructure revenue, 20% from car sales taxes, and another 62% stems from the gas tax.
I don't believe there's appetite for the gas tax to be raised. Are there areas that we need to tweak? I think one of the low-hanging fruit pieces is going to be our electric vehicles. That's something that I have not heard any dissent over at all.
On top of inflation, the Transportation Department and the legislature's spending, for that matter, face another hurdle. Over the years, Rainwater told lawmakers that South Carolina has grown its dependency on federal resources, which make up 40% of the Transportation Department's funding. And coming up, a reauthorization of the big infrastructure law passed in the Biden administration will be up for renewal. Powell told lawmakers the chatter out of D.C. appears to say states may be getting less moving forward.
It is very clear that what we are hearing out of Capitol Hill is that it is unlikely that the federal program will grow from where we are getting at that $1 billion we're getting today, and may very well come down. And so although we don't know exactly how it's all going to shake out, we have not seen legislative text, we are not counting on the same rate of growth that we saw back in 2021.
And Powell says the department is potentially bracing for a cut to their federal funds as a result.
Next year is also when the Surface Transportation Reauthorization is up. The current 5-year funding for federal highways, highway safety, and transit were committed in the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, and it expires next year. Every 5 years, it becomes a big thing. Senator Lindsey Graham was the only South Carolina Republican to support the measure, and I asked him about it recently in light of messy funding fights.
I'm the only person in the delegation, other than Congressman Clyburn, that actually directs money to be spent. It's a huge deal for me. During the campaign, I'm going to tell you what I've done to bring money back home, not only for the port, but for road projects like 17 widening, I-77 for Myrtle Beach is just an absolute essential. It's a clogged place. But yeah, that bill allows us to direct money. And what I look at growth areas like the Low Country and Beaufort area and the Grand Strand are cash cows for the rest of us in terms of tax revenue, sales tax revenue. When you have that situation, you want to make sure your airports are accommodating and you can get there safely and have a good experience. And when you invest money in that part of the state, you're getting a great return. Now, there are other parts of the state, like in Orangeburg County, you had 2 bridges about to fall down. on I-95. So I always work with Congressman Clyburn, who represents some of the poorest counties. What can we do to improve the quality of life, to make it more attractive to live there and do business? Road, water, and sewer are a very big part of this job for me. You may see me on Sunday TV, you may see me in Ukraine, you may see me in Israel, but I am very intent on making sure that our state, which is growing, unlike almost any other state, that we're getting ahead of the game when it goes to road, water, and sewer. They're developing the river down here in Columbia. That's going to be an amazing, the Vista is going to be an amazing experience. I see my job as being a partner with state and local government to direct the money that's coming out of Washington to get the highest and best use here. This bill you're talking about is going to be a real opportunity for me to work with state and local officials to get money into projects that probably wouldn't make it otherwise.
Infrastructure is one of our top issues and focuses, and we will continue to keep you all updated as the legislative session progresses. Also, little DOT note, they will be publishing the proposed regulatory changes, that 30% cut I was talking about in regulatory changes, in the state register for submittal to the General Assembly next year. The agency also said next year it will conduct a comprehensive planning level transportation study of the Interstate 85 corridor. So my upstate people, listen up. This will set the stage for significant transportation infrastructure improvements in the Anderson, Greenville, Spartanburg area. The study will identify a range of potential solutions for current and future mobility and safety issues in light of continued regional traffic volume growth. Now, this is again the I-85 corridor study area, which includes I-85 from US 29, that's exit 34, to SC85, that's exit 69. So folks in that area, this covers 35 miles of interstate highway. It includes 18 interchanges and assesses major intersecting roads that influence the operational efficiency of the interstate. So if you live in that area, if you're an upstate person, if you want to gripe, hit up Justin Powell, folks. You guys got this time between now and December 26th to issue some comments on this plan. Go to scdot.org to find out more, where you can also voice your thoughts on the matter. You have until December 26th to sound off. Now let's jump from transportation to utilities. Santee Cooper was before the Joint Bond Review Committee last week as a final hurdle for approval for a major bond offering. The state-owned utility is building an additional 1,500 megawatts of capacity to have online fully by the mid-2030s. Santee Cooper received approval for the $700 million bond offering that will include initial design, clearing, and equipment for the Kennedy's combined cycle gas plant with Dominion, as well as $293 million for 2 new turbines at the Wynyard Generation Station and turbine upgrades at the Rainey Generating Station. Both of those later projects will bring an additional 275 megawatts of capacity to the system by 2028. Jimmy Statton, president and CEO of Santee Cooper, spoke before the committee that's made up of House and Senate lawmakers that approve major funding projects for state agencies. And he spoke about the major Kennedy's project, as well as the demand for electricity and resources to generate more energy that are in tight supply.
What has happened over time is there has been a significant demand on combustion turbines, not just in the United States, but around the world. In addition to that, there are a number of other utilities throughout the country that are fighting for the resources to build these plants. So why are they coming after these plants? These plants are known. They are developed on a regular basis. They can be put all over the country, and they are being put all over the country. The resources to build those, there's a finite number of resources to actually be able to construct something of this magnitude. And so over the last 2 years, the cost of putting a combined cycle plant in place in the United States has essentially doubled. It has moved from about $1,200 a kilowatt to something closer to $2,300 a kilowatt. And so again, that project in total is going to cost about $5 billion. Santee Cooper's portion of that, because we would be 50% of that, is about $2.5 billion. What we're asking for here is $120 million to get the process started. What would we use that for? We need to make down payments on the combustion turbines themselves. And we will have to, as we go through the regulatory process with the commission, we will be moving forward later on in 2026 with groundwork to get started.
Jimmy Stanton there, and he said that Santee Cooper will be investing $10 billion over the next 10 years and expects to see only inflation-type increases for ratepayers over that time. We'll see about that. Now, for these projects, there are no rate increases planned right now. Stanton said without this additional capacity, though, that the utility would have to find energy generation alternatives somewhere else, and there could be rolling brownouts and blackouts if this is not implemented. Lexington Republican Representative Micah Caskey asks Stanton what could happen if there is a substantial drop in demand for energy.
For our system, what we're talking about specifically would be 1,200, 1,500 megawatts. I've got that much growth already on the books that I have signed up that we are currently under construction to serve either in Aiken or in the Berkeley County area. So we will need every bit of that entire 1,500 megawatts in order to meet what we see coming to us today and in order to be able to address WINYA. I actually think we will see more growth than that, and it'll be harder for us to close WINYA.
Democrat Representative Gilda Cobb Hunter of Orangeburg asked about water consumption for data center cooling, as well as the cost increases that energy-hungry data centers could cost customers.
We have had dialogues and continue to with the large data companies as to how do we manage all of this growth. One of the things that Santee Cooper did was we established a large load tariff so that the large load customers, and that would be all large loads that come onto the system, that they will pay a different rate than what my residential and commercial customers would pay so that we could protect those customers from some of the facilities that would have to be constructed to meet things like the data center load that is coming onto the system. So from that kind of infrastructure, I look at that as we've got a great opportunity to build some modern technology grid with someone else paying the lion's share of it and protecting our residential commercial customers.
Santee Cooper provides electricity to more than 2 million people across the state. The Santee Cooper Board of Directors approved a memorandum of understanding that establishes a formal feasibility period with Brookfield Asset Management on completing the 2 nuclear reactors at VC Summer. The deal terms include $2.7 billion in cash to Santee Cooper should the parties reach a final investment decision, FID, and commit to constructing the units, plus a targeted 25% ownership share for Santee Cooper with proportional capacity once the units begin commercial operation. So we're going to see what happens over the next 18 to 24 months as this MOU establishes a path to that FID, that final investment decision. We're talking in letters only now, folks. Moving on. South Carolina Public Radio's Victoria Hansen has this report on South Carolina's shrimping industry at a time when concerns about foreign shrimp have been boiling over.
It's dark and still on Mount Pleasant's scenic Shim Creek. Dockside restaurants have long called it a night. But Rocky Magwood is just getting to work. He takes to the large wooden wheel of his decades-old shrimp boat and heads for the abyss of the Charleston Harbor under the moonlight.
You see Charleston in a different light than nobody else does right now. It's quiet. Nobody's upset with each other.
A respite from the fight that's engulfed his life washes over Magwood like the luminous white cloud of birds we drive through against the black sky. At sea is where this fourth-generation shrimper feels at home.
Some of the places I work, there's been somebody in my family has been there for over 110 years, has been working that same area.
But the century-old family business is in jeopardy, as is shrimping along the entire coast. Even as Magwood reels in a giant net of freshly caught jumbo-sized shrimp, a tsunami of cheaper imported shrimp floods the market, selling for as little as 1/3 the price Magwood gets. The cost of gas and boat maintenance, they continue to swell. Many shrimpers have gone under. Magwood says Shim Creek used to see as many as 80 shrimp boats. Now there are just 8.
If somebody would have told me it would have looked like this today, I'd have never believed them.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture estimates 90% of the shrimp Americans eat is imported, even along the coast. So this summer, the South Carolina Shrimpers Association, which Magwood heads, sued local restaurants they allege serve imported shrimp, but falsely advertise as local. Some restaurants settled, others appealed. Ultimately, a judge dismissed the federal suit, saying the Shrimpers Association, a nonprofit, wasn't the right group to bring it.
It's just heartbreaking to, think that we didn't get our day in court, to at least just hear our side of it.
It was never about shaking people down. It was trying to get some safeguards in place to try to create a system that kind of regulates itself because it's unregulated right now.
That's attorney Gedney Howe IV. He filed the suit. He says what shrimpers need is a truth in menu law, like other southern states already have. It requires restaurants to disclose where they get their shrimp. Some imported shrimp has raised health concerns. What's more, the International Trade Commission just found imports do financially compromise U.S. shrimpers, paving the way for more tariffs. But Howe, whose stepfather is a shrimper, says they're running out of time.
It's a piece of the culture that if we lose it, I don't think you can bring it back.
Back on his boat, Magwood gets the call he eagerly awaits every morning from his wife and son.
How'd your morning go, Bubs? All right, well, I love y'all.
Magwood grew up on a shrimp boat, but says he's only taken his son out once.
And the reason I've done that is I don't want him to love this industry as much as I do. I don't want to see my son struggle this hard.
As Magwood heads back to the dock, he's greeted by a statue of his late uncle and legendary shrimper, Wayne Magwood. It makes him feel proud and sad.
To think that, this could really be the end of it. I might be the last one.
Magwood says, like his uncle, he'll fight to save this low-country way of life. He can't imagine Shim Creek without a shrimp boat.
Thanks, Victoria. You can find that reporting and more, including the RSVP to our live taping in Mount Pleasant on December 11th from 6 to 8 p.m. with Caitlin Bird and the Post and Courier at Hobcob Brewing in Mount Pleasant. Find that RSVP at southcarolinapublicradio.org. And a small campaign trail update for you on the way out. Dr. Annie Andrews, pediatrician and Democratic candidate for U.S. Senate in South Carolina, announced that she hired Bree Spalding as her campaign manager. The campaign says this marks a historic milestone as one of the few black women ever to lead a major statewide campaign in South Carolina. Spalding is a veteran of statewide organizing efforts, legislative advocacy, and grassroots mobilization, and she brings both strategic expertise and a lifelong commitment to uplifting voices of communities too often left out of the political process. Welcome to the trail, Bree Spalding. Holler at us if you guys need us to attend something, cover something, and please have a mold box. Just my one little request. Welcome to the wind down section, our little break from the news. We're glad you're here along with A.T. Shire,
hello,
the
Gavin.
Podcast producer.
Hello. That's right. Podcast producer extraordinaire. Thank you.
The Kia days are finally getting to me.
Oh, you're feeling nostalgic for the Kia days of yore? Yeah. So sad. How many ghosts have visited you recently, Gavin?
Could be that piece of meat I had.
Gavin's been trying to throw coins at me and tell me to buy gooses. It's been very strange,
yeah,
folks.
It's an odd Kia year-end sticker sales event season of new traditions that we like to celebrate here in the Wind Down.
Yeah, Gavin had 3 ghosts that unsettled him recently. Yeah.
Go right over to AT's house and threw coins at him and said, buy me a duck.
And he was wearing those old-timey sleep things and then a cap with a floppy ball at the end. Yeah.
It's the only way I can sleep. Listen, it's the only way I can sleep.
Doctors tell him to get a CPAP, but he just insists on this.
No. I will continue to see the ghosts.
Anyway, Gavin, we have a call, much like the supernatural callers that came upon you. This is a real life caller calling into the line, doing their leaderly duty.
There you go.
Here we go.
Checking the box.
Gavin and AT, good morning. This is Sister Cypress calling from the west coast of South Carolina up here in Pickens County. Wanted to thank you for the stellar interview with DOT Secretary Powell and ask you if there might be a way to get a follow-up on those 2 cypress trees that are so close to the 95 and 26 interchange where I think you had that interview. I know the Secretary was talking about Columbia, but he mentioned something about cutting trees and also relief from federal regulations. and I got a little bit nervous and wondered if maybe a lead could follow up on that. And AT, if you get the LL Bean catalog, they're selling Maine whoopie pies. I don't know if you consider that a travesty. And Gavin, you owe it to yourself to take a couple of hikes in the woods this winter, because there is nothing more peaceful than the woods in the wintertime. So thank you guys for all that you do, and best of the season to you. Bye.
Sister Cypress, thank you for that call, as always, from the west coast of South Carolina,
Coast,
our
yeah,
favorite.
Yeah. West Coast,
It does exist. There are lakes up there that sort of make a coast, if you will. We've talked about the trees before on 95, the cypress trees, and they're marked. I mean, DOT will be doing their best efforts, as I remember Justin last telling us, to make sure that they survive. I think there's going to be plenty of room for them to be safe, in a sense. If anything happens to those trees in terms of being moved, we will be alerted.
Gavin will let you know.
I'm sure there will be a 90-day comment period, and we will chain ourselves to the trees or whatever we have to do.
Much like the Lorax, Gavin speaks for the trees. Maybe an Ent from Lord of the Rings. I don't know. And I mean, Gavin, you're just a very mythical character.
The only problem I will say about being this tree person is that I hear their screams.
Yeah.
And they are always.
They do. When a tree falls,
always,
they do make a sound.
Do they make a sound in the woods?
Screaming.
Everyone laughs at that.
Yeah.
Do you know how much I hear?
Yeah, I hear
I grew up near woods. Okay?
I grew up near woods.
That was the norm.
So if you were talking to Dr. Lecter, he'd be talking about the screams not of lambs,
you know
but
what you
of
look
the
like with
trees.
your cheap shoes.
Yeah, cheap shoes.
Yeah. A well-polished rube all the way to the FBI.
And Sister Cypress, I think
Sister Cypress, yes, I have a question, please.
I think the whoopie pies is a good thing. They're not exactly complicated. I just don't think they're popular enough. You know what I mean? Gavin, you wanted to do something here to just
Spotify Wrapped.
Okay, yeah, the most.
You know what? Just say it. Take the Band-Aid off.
It's like sharing videos of fireworks. You're Spotify Wrapped.
Perfectly said.
Yeah.
Wow. No, that's great. I can't wait to see. Oh no, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So Gavin, let's go. Let's hit
when Gen Z embraces their inner millennial.
Yeah,
that's right. You're doing some millennial cringe right there, Gen Z.
It's uncomfortable.
I don't have Spotify because I never understood it.
Neither of us do.
I was always Amazon Prime Music because I had Amazon Prime. You paid more.
What I have.
Now I have YouTube Music because I have YouTube Premium. So they do their version of Wrapped. Yeah. They don't have a listening age for me, so I'm sorry, guys. I don't have a make-believe data point to try and make it look like the big data that these companies are taking from us.
Yeah.
It's cool. That's okay. But my recap.
Top bands.
My top band was Lady Gaga.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
She had that new album out.
Uh-huh.
I will say what's probably the most interesting little tidbit here besides my top album and being in the 0.1% of Lady Gaga listeners.
Maybe on YouTube.
On YouTube Music because, they're probably all on Spotify.
Yes.
Made me feel special being part of the
for you.
0.1% in a make-believe statistic again. Number 2, Achtung Baby by
Baby.
U2,
Awful.
which is my favorite U2 album.
Dude?
These are part of my morning wake-ups. These are not songs that I think, what would AT be impressed that I listened to?
I'm not even talking about impressed, but just like
it's
listen to
nostalgic.
songs from the big chair.
It's nostalgic. It's probably one of my favorite albums, just the way it's laid out. Number 3, Wide Open Spaces by the Chicks, formerly known as the Dixie Chicks.
God,
some great sing-alongs
figuring a lot out now, yeah.
Number 4 is the eponymous Third Eye Blind album.
Ugh.
And number 5,
is that this one? With the girl screaming on it? Okay.
There's so many good hits on that. And number 5, Cowboy Carter by Beyonce. So that's my that's where I'm at right now. That's where any given moment I could be at on a spectrum of music.
What
do you want to share with? And thank you to all of our listeners who shared with me personally that we were on your Spotify Wrap for Lead Podcast.
My most not embarrassing, but the number that struck me the most was that my Amazon Music year-end Wrapped, told me that I listened to 10,574 minutes of Comedy Bang Bang, the podcast. And I was like, wow, I am a loser.
When you put it like that.
And a lot of it is, so Caitlin and I share it, so it's not individualized, which means that this is just Rena's Wrapped. You know what I mean? Because the number one artist is Earth, Wind & Fire.
Oh, look at her.
And we are top 0.5% listeners to Earth, Wind & Fire. And the number one album was All in All, the album by Earth, Wind & Fire. Number 2 artist was New Order.
She loves it.
Number 3 was Tears for Fears. And then I finally made it with Between the Buried and Me and Periphery, who both released albums, and I listened to them a bunch, but they didn't even touch
Crowded out.
Rena listening to New Order, Tears for Fears, and Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Again, could be worse, and it will be at some point when she's like, I want the Frozen soundtrack on repeat. When she finds out about it.
Is she going to watch Frozen? Like, I don't think.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if they're going to watch it. They'll just be another one.
Any good Disney movie worth its weight is going to just be on a repeat. So, yes. That's what the kids do. Once,
I guess.
If her friends are doing it, she'll be doing it.
I guess. I don't know. I mean,
try and keep her away from it as long as possible, my son.
I'll give her, like, well, let's watch The Sword and the Stone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, baby.
I mean, Frozen is Octung, baby. All right? Sword in the Stone is Songs from the Big Chair by Tears for Fears. All right? There's a better movie.
And then doesn't matter.
Yeah.
She's not doing that. She'll be like, oh, whatever this brainworm is, I need it.
Aladdin is Depeche Mode, of course.
These comparisons.
I don't know.
Lion King is Ace of Base?
No,
maybe?
Lion King, we'll give it Pump Up the Jams, the song Pump Up the Jams.
I love this.
She loves that song, too.
Gotta guarantee some Ace of Base.
This girl's she would love Ace
The
of Base.
Sign?
Yeah,
Yes.
she would like it. Anything with a synth-based backbone, she enjoys.
I didn't ask you about this, and I have no idea how long we've been talking for, but did you go and get those VHS tapes over the weekend?
Yes, I bought some VHS. No, those ones I didn't. I bought some other ones elsewhere. So that lady fell through. I mean, classic Facebook Marketplace, where I ask her, would you take this for this? She goes, yes! And then disappears.
Not ready to give him up.
She's
not
been gone
ready to give him
for
up.
9 days. So I don't understand. I want to give you good money for these VHS tapes. Drive me crazy. If anyone has a line on VHS tapes or one of those like TVs with a VCR in there, please text the line, call the line. All right, your boy needs a CRT TV and some puffy box movies for his daughter.
There may be a tape already stuck in this TV VCR combo. Is that a problem?
I'll take it out. I'll rip that sucker out so fast. Anyway, Gavin, this is the beginning of the week. Have a good week,
guys.
folks.
Come on. Show us
on.
Be like Sister Cypress. Give us a shout, 803-563-7169. We love hearing from you guys, and I can answer any arbor issues you may have. Have me come out and listen to the trees. Also, you can show us your appreciation by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts. We love that too. And you can stay up to date with the latest news on SCETV.org and SouthCarolinaPublicRadio.org. And don't forget to support your local newspapers. The South Carolina Lede is a production of South Carolina Public Radio. Our producer is A.T. Shire. Amy Crouch is our supervising producer. Sean Birch is our executive producer. This podcast is produced with support from PureX and is made possible in part by a grant from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, as well as listener contributions to the ETV Endowment of South Carolina. For the South Carolina Lede, I'm Gavin Jackson. Be well, South Carolina. They're the baby shrimp. They're not from here. This is a bistro table, my friend. There's no joking about this. You want to talk about that?